Hello.
Welcome to our first episode of Feminist Chats. I am one of your hosts, Clarissa Lunday.
And I am Rhosalie Perry, your other host.
And we are super excited about meeting all of you and having you listen or watch our podcast. Do you want to go first in introducing who you are, Rhosalie?
Sure. Okay. Hi, I'm Rhosalie Perry. I am a 22-year-old college student who is working on her humanities degree with an emphasis in social justice and certification in forensic technology. And I have a huge passion for social justice and making sure that everyone has enough education and knowledge before saying something and acknowledging everybody else's perspective.
That's cool. I didn't
Thank
know
you.
you were getting your stuff in humanities.
Oh, yeah.
I am your other host, Clarissa Lunday. I just graduated in June with my bachelor's in women's studies, and I'm taking the year off to study for the LSAT to go to law school, hopefully here at UW again. I'm wanting to do criminal law. To be a prosecutor because I want to change how we prosecute drug crimes, sex crimes, and prostitution crimes. But I also have a passion in politics and public policy. And I am a huge education advocate. Yeah, that's a little bit about both of us.
Yeah.
So the big reason we came up with this podcast was because we both are huge feminists, and we both actually also love feminist books. So
Right.
it kind of started as a book club idea, and then we're like, we got to fill the space for our book club. So it became a huge podcast. Well, not huge yet, but we're gonna get there.
Baby steps.
Baby steps. Probably friends and family will first listen to this and then share.
Yes.
So our first book for Feminist Chats book club, because we are actually doing that, is Untamed by Glennon Doyle. I have never read it. It was one of Reese Witherspoon's books on the book club. This is the book.
Nope, I can't
it
see
shows.
you.
Oh, it's not showing. There it goes.
There you go.
Yeah, it was on Reese Witherspoon's Reese's book club thing, and I was going to read it for that.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't get a chance to, and so now I'm really happy that we decided to read it as our first book. Are you excited, Rhosalie?
I am very excited because the first time I saw that book, it was actually through Instagram. And it was on one of the pages that I follow, a poetry page. And they were talking about feminism, and then they recommended that book. And I was like, I would want to read that book, actually. And I heard a little bit about the author, and it just made me super interested. I'm like, I gotta share this with like Clarissa because I know that she's like super into this. So it decided to make it into a little book club thing. So,
yeah. See, I have not heard of Glennon Doyle. I've heard of her wife, Abby Wambach.
Oh.
Because I like soccer. But yeah, so we're going right along here. I thought this was not going to be this short. So our first podcast episode is about gender role myths or gender myths. And we decided each to come up with 3 myths that we wanted to share with all of you. Do you want me to go first, Rhosalie?
Sure.
Okay. So my first one, I got all three of these from the same article, but they were all very different and all very interesting. So the first myth is women have smaller brains than men, which is considered evidence that they are intellectually inferior. This is
No.
definitely false because I'm pretty smart and intellectual. Um, so the truth behind this, um, like how we break this myth is actually women's brains are about 10% smaller, but the sizes overlap between men and women very pretty much all the time. So theirs can also be 10% smaller than another woman's. And many studies find that the difference between size um, doesn't have anything to do with women's intelligence or behavioral traits.
That's very true.
Right?
Very, very true. Because you have some men and women out there that actually think, oh, just because I'm a man, I'm smarter than you because we built this and we came up with this. But then there's also women that came up with other things.
All those ideas first.
Yeah. And then it just branched out into each other. And then that's where we have different innovations and innovations. What's another word for that?
Inventions?
Yes, inventions.
Innovations and inventions. Yep.
Yes, because it's not always the man. Yeah, it's not always the man.
You want to do the next one?
Yeah, okay. So, going on with that, the next one, my first one, is about jobs. So, women with children are less devoted to their jobs, which is not entirely true because coming from like a background where most of the women in my family, they're the ones who work just as hard as the fathers. Research shows that career advancing opportunities definitely hold them back because they're the nurturer and they have to take care of the child since they're more likely to be at home, but they work just as hard and it makes them realize that they have a full potential instead of just being a at-home mom. 31% of moms reported that these negative attitudes are actually holding them back from advancing and becoming leaders. But 73% feel that they can actually proceed to a certain amount of progress. And this also led women to have anxiety over the idea of starting a family. And women are just like, oh, if I start a family, I can't work. But which is, can go both ways.
Yeah.
But it doesn't. You see women who go to work and they're still pregnant. So,
yeah,
that's something that I feel is very important, just to show that because we have a human being in our womb, we can also take care of ourselves and that human being at the same time.
It's called multitasking.
Yeah.
I have heard that women with children are more productive than their male counterparts at work. I don't remember where I heard that though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's.
I don't know if it's been studied, but I'm pretty sure if
I feel
people
like it
are
has.
saying that. Yeah.
It has, and just like by watching, because I worked in the ER. I had a colleague who was pregnant, and she had the part of the job was to go out to patients and then come back in and report. And she was just that stressed, but she got everything done in like less than 30 minutes, and that was just really like, oh my god.
Oh my god.
And she was new. It was like only 2 weeks, and I was like, she got willpower, like bro, she got willpower.
Right. She does. So my second one has to do with the concept of the premenstrual syndrome, or what we know as PMS. That is a huge myth. So it emerged in the 1930s, and was originally established to bar women from certain jobs or positions. And we consider PMS to bring a range of cognitive and emotional changes that are normally caused by a psychosomatic response due to false feedback, and when women are in their menstrual cycle. So they would do a test, like a blood test, and then be like, "Oh, you're on your menstrual cycle," but they weren't on their menstrual cycle. And so,
what?
yeah, so women were told that they were in their premenstrual phase and reported PMS symptoms. And this is called, instead of the placebo effect, the nocebo effect. So women who do not experience like what we normally call PMS are women who have never been through this, like never been told by a doctor that they're in the premenstrual stage, because there's actually no such thing.
Wow. That's weird how those myths actually come into play.
Yeah. So, like, it's interesting. So women may actually, this hasn't been studied, but women may actually experience a cognitive boost during their menstrual cycle. So they do have hormonal changes during their actual period. Not really like in the months, like, or the days that lead up to their period. And during their period, they can have cognitive boosts.
Wow.
Yeah. Thought that was interesting.
That's interesting. That's new to me, the nocebo effect.
The nocebo effect.
Nocebo effect. Because I always hear the placebo effect, but
no one knows what the nocebo effect is.
Maybe that's why it's called a nocebo effect.
Right?
Yeah.
Because it's psychosomatic and has nothing to do with a pill, which both are psychosomatic. But yeah, I thought PMS was real until people are like, nope, it's a nocebo effect.
Yeah, me too. And I was like, back in what, 6th grade, that's middle school, yeah?
Yeah.
In middle school, I would always think like people who had their periods would be more like yeah, they're more emotional and stuff, but then they told me about PMS, and we were learning about sex education at that time, and I was like, wait, I haven't received mine yet, so I really don't know what to say. And I'm like, wait, what's going on? Is that gonna happen to me? And I started getting afraid to have like my own period. I'm like, but then after having my period in like 12 years old, almost 13, I was like, that's so false. And I'm like, everything I learned was a lie. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, it's definitely false. Like that you're supposed to have hormonal changes right before your period. Like it doesn't make sense. Like there's some hormonal changes like with breast tenderness. I do definitely experience that, but like that's like a day before my period, not like a full week before my period. And so it's like not even premenstrual.
Yeah. So and it's good kind of in a way when you get some of those symptoms before your period, because it makes you like, oh no, I'm gonna have my period.
Buy some tampons.
Yep, it gives you at least like a day to prepare for that flow, that big flow or low flow for some people.
Or low flow. I am not a big flower. I'm definitely a low flower.
Oh, for me, it's like mine doesn't even last the whole like 7 days, 5 days. Mine is usually like 4.
Yeah. Mine's between 4 and 5.
Yeah. So it's that.
See, I don't understand like how women still like have issues talking about their menstrual cycles.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm 28 and you're 22 and we're
Yeah.
having this conversation like it's no big deal.
Yeah, and I'm
It's
kind of
not.
glad
It's
to
not
have that.
shameful. Me
Mm-hmm.
too.
Yeah.
Like when I didn't have the period conversation, not even in school. We didn't talk about it. We did talk about where babies come from, but not periods. So I was not prepared when I was on my period.
Oh.
But now we know premenstrual cycle is a nocebo effect and can tell our future children, if we decide to ever have them,
Yes.
that you will not experience this.
Yeah. And it helps a lot with those soon-to-be women or who describe themselves as female, how to prepare, not basically fully, but also in a way just to somewhat get themselves into like a sense of like, oh no, I'm become, or not oh no, but like I'm going to be a new person kind of, because all of these things are going to happen to me. And then with the cognitive portion of it, their brains start to distinguish the differences of like what's actually happening to their body and their surroundings. So it's like,
Yeah.
good job, but also not a good job because you're bleeding over there. So
Yeah. Transgender women do also go
they
through
go through that.
Some sort of menstrual cycle, but without the blood, because they don't have a uterus. And so, like, even for them, like, you can't tell them they have PMS because they don't.
Yeah,
Like, it's a nocebo effect. Again,
exactly.
I love that.
Yeah, it's so nice. And it's like, just because you don't have those counterparts or whatever, and then you still identify yourself as someone or like something. Nobody has the right to tell you like you're not this
You're
because you
not
don't
this.
have this. You don't have the right to do these things because you're not this, but they're not you, so it doesn't really make sense. No.
Exactly. Especially when they're going through exactly what female assigned at birth women do, cisgender women do.
Yeah.
Like the fact I'm sorry, transgender women are just as much of a woman as I am.
Yeah. Yep. I would like to talk about that probably next episode. And we can get more insight from maybe a special guest. That'd be really cool.
Yeah. That would be really cool. Okay, what's your second one?
Okay. My second one is that women, my second myth is that women don't need equal pay because they're supported by their husbands. That's like a big.
I'm not supposed to laugh at that.
No, but it's kind of sad because back then, some women, I believe it was in the 40s or 1920s, 40s era. I have to double check my sources, but the women has to stay home, take care of the children, wait for the man to come home and provide. I don't like that.
Definitely up until the 40s, because the 40s was when we had World War II and men were shipping off and women had to take over the men's jobs.
Yup. Yeah, that's another good example. But yeah, that basically derives from the belief that someone or like a father or like a husband or like a partner is basically to support them and their children, which is in a way, I think both should be supporting anyway, regardless of the role or like the gender.
Definitely.
But keep in mind that like marriage rates are like have fallen as, let's go through my notes, with men without college degrees and have seen their earnings like stagnate. And then there's also rates of non-marital like childbearing now than actual marital births. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that
And
does
then
make sense.
And then divorce rates have gone down, and then marriage is kind of like rare now, since in the age that we live in, the 21st century, there are people who don't want to get married, and there are some people who do, but some have uh, the idea of becoming a single parent, or sometimes they can't help it. That's why they're there. And so basically, let's see. Find. So there was a study that was done between American mothers. 75% of American mothers find themselves within that principle of financial support in their household at some point during like the first 18 years. So like between the first 18 years of their life or motherhood, they have been somewhat supported in a way.
Yeah.
And then the average American mother who finds herself in support will also spend at least 6 of those first 18 years doing so. And then, so basically, the whole idea that someone else is supporting women and family, a whole family, is false.
Yeah, it's mostly the women that are picking up, like both doing the childcare and going to work. Shout out to single moms,
Yes.
and single dads. I have to say, putting them in there too, who work multiple jobs and come home and take care of the kids.
Yeah, and it's so hard.
That is amazing.
Yeah, it's really hard. And just taking care of housework too, all the mess or like the dishes and stuff like that. And
especially in the middle of a pandemic.
That's really hard. I know in my household, that's really hard.
I don't even know how they did that when it was all shut down and kids were at home doing homework, and then they were working multiple jobs. Like, shout out to them.
And it's all about like trying to, all that patience, and like time management, multitasking, like you said earlier. And that's just a lot of respect, especially if they're not in the average like 4-person household with like 2 children and then like a father figure and a mother figure. Because I know in my family, we have like a huge family in one house. There's like 7 people in one house. So that includes the grandparents, some cousins and aunties, and then later you have the actual family that lives there. So being able to cook and clean, and that kind of brings people into like some kind of like anxiety, or like like, oh my god, I have to get this done now, and then put everything together.
I also had 7 people in my house, but it was my 4 other siblings and then my parents.
Basically
we
kind
all
of
had
like
to
the
do
same.
all the things. No one had to no one could slack off, or else it would get like a mess.
Very big mess. And then
huge mess.
My grandma, she would try to make everyone do not everything, but everyone had to do like a piece, like a chore. Like everyone had a chore that they were responsible for, and like when they're done, help someone else in
time. Same. Okay.
Yes.
My last one. I really love this one, and shout out to my mom, because my mom is apparently going to listen to this.
Yay.
And I know she's going to love this one.
Well, hello, and thank you for listening.
The myth is girls like pink and boys like blue. Girls play with dolls and boys play with Legos.
Thank you. Yes.
So, this is definitely like wrong. So the apparent sex differences in what is known as spatial cognition diminish. It's called spatial cognition. They diminish when you account for the amount of time spent playing games like Tetris or playing with Legos. And my mom loved Tetris, and so it's like, nope, like we we gain spatial cognition when we do that. So there's really, like, if you have both boys and girls play with dolls, they're going to get intercommunication skills. And if you have them both play with Legos and Tetris, they get intelligence skills and spatial cognition skills. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the girls like pink and boys like blue thing is wrong. Because my sister likes blue.
Yeah. I kind of somewhat fall into that because I always loved pink. My whole room was pink. But I don't agree.
Also fall into this.
Yeah. But it's not pink, everyone's favorite color.
Yeah. I'm super specific about what kind of pink.
Yes.
Like, super specific. I hate hot pink.
Me too.
But I also like other colors. Like, I love metallic colors. I pair most of my pink with black.
That's really pretty. That's really pretty.
Right.
Or white sometimes.
Or white. Sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, even though I fall into it, I know a lot of other cisgender women and transgender women who don't fall into that.
That's true.
Like, I know some women who like purple, and my mom loves red. Again, shout out to my mom.
And with my mom.
Your mom likes red too?
Yeah, and my grandmother.
Yeah. Red is the color of blood, and it's awesome.
Yeah, that's
like
nice.
My mom had I think she had a red KitchenAid at one time, or
those
used
are nice.
a red KitchenAid. Yeah, they are.
I
really want one.
Me too. You can just bake.
Right. I could have used one yesterday to bake my crust.
Oh, your pumpkin
for my pie.
Muffin. Oh.
No, I was going to make a pumpkin pie, but I don't have a food processor, and I realized if I had a KitchenAid, I could use it for my pie crust. What is your third one?
My third one has to deal with so my third one is boys and men are expected to use violence and aggression to prove their manliness. That's something we learned this in one of my communication skills in one of my social justice classes. No, sorry, I take that back. Communication class and social justice class. And it was like a skill that kind of hit hard on people because there was a lot of men in my classes. Basically, probably 75% men. And it was just kind of hard for them to hear because they were always taught to, oh, you can't cry. Okay, you can't cry. Yeah. You gotta be strong. You gotta keep it together. And in early childhood, violence and aggression are used to express emotions and distress. So over time, aggression in males, it shifts to.
I know.
You know. Well, it kind of goes with what we're talking about. So
apologize for the background noises, everyone. We do have families.
Yeah. So, but yes, male aggression in males asserting power over another. So like one is being more, I guess, better than the other in a way.
Yeah.
And particularly, masculinity is threatened. So that's a source from Pellegrini and Bartini back in 2001 when they did the study. And then there are masculine ideals such as restriction from emotional expression towards basically anything and any pressure that conforms them from dominance and aggression. These, it's not limited to bullying and assault and or any kind of physical or verbal aggression, but it kind of engages them to somewhat be around that societal aspect that everyone wants them to abide by. So it's kind of sad, actually, to be told that your emotions are basically valid in a way because of your gender.
Except for like anger or there's a few others, but like basically anger is the big one that men are mostly allowed to show. And then there's also the idea that African American males are hyper masculinized. And that can be like, if they're not allowed to express other emotions, like they just fit into this stereotype, and that's as much as unhealthy as being in that anyways. So we need to teach our males, both cisgender and transgender, and gender non-conforming peeps, that they can share their emotions, because it's definitely self-care.
Yeah. And it's something to normalize, because, 21st century, everything is being somewhat thrown out there, like aspects that weren't thrown out there before our time, like back in our grandparents' time. It's now being addressed. Sadly, there are still people who think a certain way and think that that's how life is supposed to be, but things are changing. So you have to actually adapt and be flexible with what's happening and adapting to those kind of things, and also practicing that in your own life to help someone else. Yeah.
So that's all of our gender role myths. This was a really great conversation.
I liked it, honestly. It was
me
fun.
too. It was really great. I'm hoping so. How this will be set up is we will have different segments. Like the first segment, we will be going back and forth every episode on one random voters education fact, because we feel that everyone needs to have voters education. And we do plan on doing big voters education segments, like episodes like this one. But every episode will have a small voters education segment. We'll do our book check-ins. And then the last small segment will be feminism in the news. And then it will be our main episode.
Okay, cool.
So
nice.
Yeah. And then next episode, you were saying we really wanted to talk with a transgender person. If we can get a guest on here. So
I will try to ask you.
Cool.
I know. I just need to figure out a time, because they're also in Seattle. So
right? Yeah. So Rhosalie is in Maryland.
Yes, I am in Maryland.
I am in Seattle. And so we work off Seattle time.
Times are still kind of trying to adjust around there. It's 6:34 right now, and it is 3:44.
3:34. Yep. 34. Or 3:35.
So 3 hours ahead. So we'll go ahead and work around that schedule.
Yep, we'll figure it out, because it seems like Sundays, for recording anyway, work best for us. These probably won't come out until like Wednesday or Thursday, though.
Yeah.
So we recorded this on Halloween.
That's why
her face looks like a scarecrow.
Yeah, I'm at least trying to be. I have my final
cute, though.
Well, thank you. It was messy earlier, and then Bixby was just staring at me. My dog, Bixby, was just staring at me. You're not mommy. So.
Yeah, she has a dog named Bigsby, and I have a dog named Manchester, and Manchester is curled up on the couch.
Bixby's on my foot.
I'm not dressed up for Halloween. I don't really celebrate Halloween. That's because of my religious background, even though I'm non-practicing. It's kind of ingrained.
It's okay.
I don't even really watch spooky movies, and I've been like wanting to.
Well, Disney ones are pretty good. They're not that scary.
I was gonna watch Hocus Pocus.
Do it! Oh my god, those are so nice.
Shout out to my mom again, because she finally watched it for the first time yesterday.
She like it?
Yeah, she loved it.
Oh my. Yeah.
But yeah, so this is like a little bit how our conversations, our feminist chats are gonna go. Super laid back, super fun conversations. And we hope to have more guests on here.
Yep, for sure.
And we will announce on our Facebook group, which we'll put the link in all of our deets so you guys can join it. But we'll announce if we're having a guest or what the next episode will be like. And yeah, that's... Oh, and for the book, we are doing bi-monthly, not monthly.
I forgot to mention it because
we did. Oh goodness. Definitely some first episode quirks. So the book is bi-monthly, so we start reading tomorrow, November 1st. Which again, we will have already started reading when this episode is out. And we will end December 31st.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you all for joining.
Thank you.
We will see you and have you listen to us bi-weekly for now.